Hi, good morning everyone. My name's Emma Bell. I'm the Civil Protection and Business Continuity Officer for the Council. So this covers all things emergency planning and response. So in Luton, emergency planning sits under our public protection team. So the civil protection team is very small in the council, consisting of just two of us. However, we do lots of multi-agency work in and outside the council. So we cover a whole range of things, responding to live incidents, ensuring local events are ran safely within the town, and planning a lot larger multi-agency exercises in collaboration with Bedfordshire Local Resilience Forum, the body who I'll come on to later in this presentation. So what is emergency planning? As you can see on the slide there, emergency planning is a systematic and ongoing process preparing organisations such as councils for the response to and the recovery from emergencies. So on the slide, the wheel highlights the continuous cycle of emergency planning, and our team can come in at every single one of those cycles depending on which incident we're responding to. So for example, starting at the preparedness stage on there, we look at the National Risk Register, identifying risks associated within Luton and even the Bedfordshire area, and then record our mitigation measures for these. So a copy of this work is stored at county level within the BLRF. Next slide, please. So when an emergency occurs or there's disruption to a business, the organised teams within Luton, will respond in accordance to our already established plans. So incident management helps staff determine the scale of the incident, by defining them into the categories listed there. So on the board are listed a few of the ones that are regularly tested within the local authority and are the main ones we're exposed to in Luton on a daily basis. So examples there, so business continuity incident, that sits with our department. So business continuity incident is defined as an event or an occurrence that disrupts an organisation's normal service delivery to below acceptable predefined levels. So an example of this one is the pandemic. So we class a loss of more than 25% of staff in your department through illness during an incident. So during a pandemic, you would look to activate a business continuity plan. And then we ask all departments within the council to regularly review their plans and test their plans annually to include any mitigation measures for the likes of this instance. So we'd be asking departments, what do they do if they breach over the 25%? Is it agency staff? Is it mutual aid, for example? And then going on to a critical incident. So an example of this one could be a complete loss of IT within the organisation. So the difference between this one and a business continuity one is a critical incident is declared when an organisation is unable to deliver its critical services. So within our corporate business continuity plan, we ask all corporate directors to assess their critical services and list them within this plan. So they're the services that absolutely cannot be missed for any incident. So it's more critical on that critical level. And then a major incident, it may involve a single agency response, although according to the GESIP guidelines, so it's more likely to require a multi-agency response. And an example of this one, more recently, going back to last October now, is the Luton Airport car park fire, where a major incident was declared, and then all partners come together to respond to that. For example, you had the police there, the fire service, health colleagues, and the council. So that was declared a major incident, but more information on that can be found on the GESIP website. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the diagram on the board highlights our internal response for when a member of staff receive the notification of an incident. So notifications at the top there, they can be received through the first responder, which is our on-call for the council. Someone is on call. In fact, we've got 4 people on call every week, 24/7, 365 days a year. And that'll be through the first responder, or even a council department might notify us of an incident, a local resilience forum organisation. So as mentioned previously, the police, ambulance, they might report an incident into the council, or even a member of the health protection team or public health. Anyone's able to report an incident, and below is how you would do so. So if we declare a major incident internally, it's likely that we would notify the local resilience forum, even as a precautionary measure, just in case we should need mutual aid down the line. And the steps are listed on the left-hand side. However, it's not always needed, and it's always good to assess with our department whether we're going to declare that or not. And then the LBC critical incident. So they're any incident that can be dealt with in-house by colleagues internally. So usually we use all the resources we've got within the council to deal with an incident. And then going down there, so we would, on some occasions, establish a serious incident management team, or even just an IMT, even an incident management team. Some departments call it differently, and that will consist of all those partners who are responding to the incident. So once we've got a serious incident management plan or procedure, so that's activated, and then our internal gold and silver, so that's your tactical level and your strategic level, then meetings are set up as and when required. And then it says there we may require the support from BLRF. So we can class it as a critical incident, even if we do ask for mutual aid from our BLRF commanders, which are our Bedfordshire local volunteer sector. And that consists of hundreds of different groups across the county who are ready to respond as and when. So I've mentioned previously the Bedfordshire Local Resilience Forum. So the Bedfordshire LRF was mentioned. It's a multi-agency partnership made up of representatives from local public services. So within that, you've got the 3 local authorities in Bedfordshire. So you've got ourselves, Luton, Central Bedfordshire Council and Bedford Borough Council. It includes the emergency services, the NHS and other health partners, the Environment Agency and other Category 1 responders. The LRF is also supported by organisations known as Category 2 responders. They haven't got quite the amount of level of duties highlighted in the Civil Contingencies Act, but they are involved in the working of the Resilience Forum, and they include companies such as the Highways Agency and public utility companies, so your water companies, your gas, for example, and we usually pull them on board, especially when we're planning exercises throughout the year, because it's good to get everyone involved of who might be within the incident. So the Category 1 responders must cooperate with each other in connection with the performance of their duties under the Civil Contingencies Act of 2004. And what that technically is, it highlights the roles and responsibilities of responders when responding to an incident or an emergency. So it's a government act that is required. Next slide, please. So this slide highlights training and exercising throughout the year. So Bedfordshire Local Resilience Forum, they run training throughout the year to train up both new and existing commanders at all levels. So we run strategic training, tactical and operational. And they also run exercises that are focused on the recovery to an incident. So looking at post-incident, what that looks like, whether that's within the coming days of an incident, all the way up to even years and years to come. And then another training exercise looks at vulnerable people, and one trains up those who want to be trained in assistant centre managers. So I put this slide in the PowerPoint to show that the Resilience Forum do run a training and exercise programme to ensure agencies are able to work together in real time before they respond to a live incident. So this allows our relationship building with our LRF partners and allows the opportunity to meet colleagues outside of the scene. And then on the screen there, you have some different agencies that partake in the exercises. Some you'll be more familiar with than others. So we've got obviously the Bedfordshire Police logo, Beds Fire and Rescue Ambulance, some of the Bedfordshire volunteer groups, as well as military and health partners. So on the screen here, so we've got some of the capabilities a local authority such as ours has, and it's often down to our department, so the emergency planning department, to coordinate these on the day and when we're responded to an incident. So for example, the setting up of assistance centre there, our default assistance centre in Luton is Chall End. However, we've got some named sites across Luton that can be used at small capacities too. So what that effectively does, if somewhere needs to be evacuated, if somewhere needs some shelter, if they've been involved in an incident that needs to be taken away off-site, we'll often open up what's called an assistance centre. They can get a hot drink, some food there potentially, and even in some cases they end up staying longer. We rely on the resources in central beds. They've got camp beds. They've got all things that can be set up as a longer term. But in Luton, in the Chall End, it's our designated assistance centre for short-term response, possibly up to 6-7 hours when they might be able to head back into their homes after being evacuated. So another example listed there is the emergency mortuary. So during COVID, our team assisted with the local resilience forum colleagues to set up the temporary mortuary over at RAF Henlow. So we're still part of the BLRF death management group, which regularly updates on the county plan. And then their out of hours emergency planning team could be involved in all of these different capabilities with different colleagues across the departments. And then just to highlight some of the recent responses our department have been involved in with the help of other council departments. Some of these are still ongoing. So you've got the Ukrainian response there in the top left. We've only recently shut down our Luton Airport hub, which was an information point for those coming in from Ukraine and then settling in Luton, following what's going on over there. We've got the airport fire, which I mentioned previously, winter floods. Put 2024 there, but it's the same every year, and it's something we look at on the National Risk Register as well and plan forward going into the winter months. Industrial action, again, ongoing. 10 named storms, the conflict in the Middle East, and the Asylum Seeker Contingencies Hotel in Luton. So looking at these, when to escalate a health incident to an emergency planning team. So when the health incident is likely to have an impact on the wider council and its resources. So even if it eventually does not have an impact, we like to be alert just so the emergency planning team can put our resources on standby should it escalate. And as mentioned again previously, if we did need to set up assistance centres or did need to move off site, we like to have the teams on standby able to do it as quickly as possible when we get the green light. So if as much notice as we get as possible, the more prepared we can be. And then if it's likely to need a multi-agency response, so in which case our team would escalate this to the local resilience forum via the methods already mentioned in the slides. How to do this? We've got a first responder number. The first responder, like I said, 4 people on call every week. It goes straight through to one person, first responder number, and it's a pool of instant responders. So I will get the telephone number in the packs. So it's an on-call duty number. It's for internal use only. We don't share that with the public, but it's for colleagues and senior level management to escalate any incident should they feel they need to. That comes through to the first responder and then on to our department to escalate or sit with us accordingly. So going back to your workbooks that you've used previously, we've got a scenario up on the board there. We'll now pause, just let you some time to fill in some of the questions, some of your initial actions to this scenario, and then we'll come back, we'll feedback. Okay, brilliant. So now I'm going to, that's it for emergency planning. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Rachel, who will be running you through environmental health.